Hello. Welcome back to this channel. For those of you guys who are new here, my name is Mon, and this is a semi-real-time journal with me. This is my second time recording a voiceover because the first voiceover was too short, and I wanted to keep this a sort of long video because I personally like watching long videos, but I just don't have a lot to say. So it's semi-real time to kind of keep this long, but not too long, because I did in fact spend over an hour on this. This video is very much inspired by Megan Rhiannon. I love watching her journal and chat videos, especially when I journal, for both body doubling as well as background audio. I just like listening to people talk when I'm doing stuff, which is why this video is going to be chatty. So if you're like me and you like long chatty videos, this one's for you. But if you're only here for body doubling purposes, feel free to mute this video and listen to whatever music you guys want to listen to. In this video, I did leave the bits where I'm planning out the layout, but I did put it on 2x speed because I take a long time personally, and I also do like watching others take their time when they do their planning. I think I took like at least 4 minutes to figure out the layout. Yeah, but I left it in there. Instead of watching it for 4 minutes, it's gonna be up for like 2 minutes. I don't really have much to talk about my birthday itself, so in this video, I will be talking about my new journaling system. I initially wanted to make a separate video, but the video editing software that I use doesn't exactly have a good like blurring function or like something to blur stuff, and I would like to have all of my writings blurred. So even if I were sharing pages, I would want the writing itself to be blurred. And so if I did make a separate video talking about my new journaling system, it would more so include pictures that are blurred as opposed to like a proper video with me flipping through a journal. And since I wanted this video to be chatty and didn't really have a topic, I decided maybe this should be the video that I talk about my new journaling system. This type of like a journal with me chatty video wouldn't really be a common occurrence, simply because I don't do this type of like journaling pages, like deco journaling kinda often. But if and when I do this, I would like to know if you guys would want it to be like a semi-real-time video kind of like this, or if you would enjoy something that's more sped out and edited more. Since this is the first video, like journal with me video that I'm making, I just made it in a way that if someone else were to make it, like this is the kind of video I would watch. But do let me know if you guys would like something that's more sped up or real time. If you guys would also prefer a more quiet video with like music as opposed to like a lot of talking. But if you do enjoy talking videos and long videos, do comment topics you guys would want me to talk about, or like any questions that you guys would want me to answer. I did also consider doing a Q&A video, and so if you guys have questions, do comment them. But I guess before I go into talking about my new journaling system itself, I guess I'll talk a little bit about what I'm doing in this video. I recently turned 20. By recently, I mean as of when I'm recording this voiceover, it's been slightly over a month. By the time you guys watch this video, it would be like 2 months maybe. My birthday's in June. I won't really talk about my birthday or like what I did on my birthday itself because I did vlog it. So if you guys are interested to know what I did on my birthday, do watch that. I will leave a link to the birthday vlog in the description box. What I write in this is pretty much like a recap of what happened on my birthday, along with a couple of thoughts about me entering a new phase of my life. I did also vlog my last few days as a teen. If anyone's interested in watching that, again, we'll leave that in the description box. you would probably see me struggling with my nails or like holding stuff with my nails. My birthday nails were press-on nails that I made for myself. First time wearing press-on nails. I kept them on for this video because I wanted my nails to look nice for this video, but I did take them off right after I finished filming this. The birthday page theme is sort of red and white to match my dress. My birthday dress for this year was a white dress with red roses on them. And my twin was also in a red and white theme, except hers was a red top and a white skirt. As for like supplies that I'm using, the stickers are all from Daiso. The pen that I'm using is the 0.38 Muji gel ink ballpoint pen, the cap type. I'm also using mile liners. I don't exactly know the colors, like the color name, but it's like the red ones. And I think I used the dark red one. I also, not recently, but a couple months ago, got a Instax mini printer, and I've been loving it. Because I don't exactly have a color printer in the house, so I've never really printed pictures, but now that I have this Polaroid printer, I've been printing a lot of stuff. So in the photos, there's one photo is me and my twin, a couple selfies that I took, and then my uncle and my baby cousin gave us flowers. That's one of the Polaroids. I only ended up using 3 out of the 4 that I printed. I also took out a lot of stickers that I wanted to use, and I didn't really use that many, but I just took out everything that were red that I thought I would use, just in case if I were using them. Anyways, on to the part where I talk about the journaling system. If you've watched other videos on my channel, you might have seen my planning system video for 2024, and if you watched that, you would know that I wasn't in a ring binder at the start of this year. And if you've not watched it, I will leave it in the description box if you are interested in checking out what I thought would be my journaling system at the start of this year. So just to run down my previous system, if you've not watched that video and you're not planning on watching it, I had one, it's not an A6 book, it is slightly smaller than an A6 grit notebook that I sort of called my commonplace book, but it's more of like a diary with a tagging system and commonplacing with it. This system is very much inspired by Megan Rhiannon. It's sort of also very similar to how I used to use my diary. The only difference, I suppose, was the tagging system, and the book that I used didn't have a margin, so I drew margins. These previous diaries that I used did have a margin, but they were also lined books, not gridded. I also had a bullet journal, also A6, and then I had this book that I called my everything book. It's kind of similar concept to a book that I used to own back when I was in secondary school, which is really just a dumping ground. And in a way, I do think it is closer to a traditional commonplace book where I just put random stuff, write about random stuff, like long-term notes, lists, ideas. And then I also had a A6 Muji planner that had weeks, and on one side it was like a horizontal weekly layout, and I would daily log in that. And then on the page right next to it, it was like a grid paper. I would have my weekly habit tracker as well as my to-do list in there. I do go in depth of the explanation in that planning system video if anyone's interested. Last year, I had a journaling system crisis, and after going back and forth different stuff, I thought that the 2024 system would solve my problem. And at the time, it did solve the problem for a couple of months. And then I had a new problem. I started feeling really overwhelmed by the structure. Of course, with systems, you don't have to follow a structure you set out at the start of when you started a system, but I have been someone who has been following, I suppose, a structure all throughout my planning system journey. If I have a notebook for one thing, I have dedicated that entire notebook to that specific thing. And overall, having bound books itself, having to use my bound books, felt overwhelming. And I have this stack of B5 loose leaf paper from Muji. I used to write school notes on them back when I was in secondary school and in poly. Sometime in March, when I started feeling really overwhelmed, I started using the loose leaf paper for planning, to-do lists, and journaling. Using the loose leaf paper helped me feel less overwhelmed, simply because 1, it lacked structure, and 2, it took up less space than an open book. For a good while, I would have my commonplace diary book open on my desk, and I would have my pencil case over it, and that kind of took up space. And if I was also planning, I would have maybe my bullet journal or something else also open on my desk. With the loose leaf paper, it was easy for me to just keep it on my desk, take it and use it whenever I needed to write. And having everything on one paper felt a lot easier to manage my days. So then I decided to look back at the system that I was hoping I would follow and kind of reevaluated what didn't work about it and what worked, I suppose. And one of the reasons why I had a journaling system crisis last year was because I gravitated towards digital journaling. And the little crisis I had was I love using a paper and pen as opposed to writing digitally. But for some reason, I kept gravitating towards digital journaling. And looking back, I realized it's because it was less overwhelming to have everything in one space. Similar to using the loose leaf paper, I had everything in the digital space. Okay, I don't know about how you guys set up your digital notebooks if you use any, but mine is like an endless scrolling thing. Like with my GoodNotes or Note Shelf, I can scroll forever, kind of. That's how it's set up. I know my twins' Note Shelf is set up in a way where it's you swipe to the next page, kind of turning a page, whereas mine is just endless scrolling. And that was something I loved a lot about digital journaling. Having an endless running list, having a to-do list that's not separate from my everyday writing. Sometimes I'll be not necessarily brain dumping, sort of like brain drain. I have ADHD, inattentive ADHD, and a lot of the hyperactivity happens in my brain. So I have a lot of constant thoughts about random things. Most of the times it's never about what I need to be thinking about, it's random. And I just write. It's just a stream of consciousness when I just write. And with my digital journaling, if I, in the middle of writing, decide I want to make a to-do list, I just put it in there. Whereas with my books, I had my to-do list separate from all of my endless writing. And with the digital journaling, there was no structure. And it was easy for me to move pages around if I needed to. Some days, I would just add a monthly calendar in the middle of my writing, like a calendar template page in the middle of my grid paper pages. And I could just move things around as and when I want. Looking at why that worked helped me realize why my book system wasn't working. And after looking at why I prefer using digital journaling, I thought back to last October, because again, in case you missed it, last October, in attempts to solve my planner crisis, I did try using a ring binder, and I used a A6 ring binder. I have a little 2-part series on it. If anyone's interested, again, will be linked in the description box. I looked back at that ring binder, and the first thing I noticed as to why it didn't work out was that it was structured the same way that my bullet journal and my diary were structured, in that I had a separate space for my to-do list and a separate space for all of my writing. I also did pre-plan some pages for a weekly layout. If you watch the video, you might understand what I'm talking about. But I used that ring binder the same way I use my bound books, except it was just in the same place. The bullet journaling and the diary were in the same space, like the binder, but the structure was similar to the bound books. And so I decided to go back to the A6 and try to use it similar to how I use my B5, in that I would have a loose leaf paper on my desk and then put it into the binder once I'm done using the paper, and then take out another piece of paper and use it. And that I discovered, or sort of rediscovered, another problem that I had was the pages were very narrow. And after using the B5 and splitting up the page however I wish to split it up, or like dividing the page, making columns, etc., I found the A6 pages to be too small. If I wanted to make 2 columns, like there wouldn't be enough space on either columns. So the solution to that problem was A5. It's an in-between size of B5 and A6. A5 is smaller than B5, but it has more space in comparison to an A6. If I wanted to split an A5 page into 2 columns, I had enough space on either side. And so I bought myself an A5 binder and pages. While I was waiting for my A5 stuff to get delivered, I kept using the A6, and this time around it worked significantly better than it did last October. And if anyone's interested in getting the A5 stuff, it's the same link as the A6 stuff, which will be linked in the description box of the October videos. It's the same. I bought it from the same seller, just bought the A5 version instead of the A6. I bought them on Shopee, by the way. And so with the A5, the new changes I made, I decided to separate my commonplace style pages from my everyday pages. I no longer set up pages, like pre-set up pages. I just set pages up as I need them. And the only page that I set up is my monthly page, which contains my habit tracker as well as a place for me to write whatever is happening in the month. Aside from that, I don't pre-make any pages. With my everyday pages, they no longer have a margin, which I used to have for my everyday pages in my diary book, simply because if I were to be doing any commonplacing and stuff, I like having the margin and having the extra space. Previously, when I used to have my old diary that were lined and not gridded, those had margins already. And so it kind of was nice that it gave the page a little structure. And with my tagging system, I would put the sticker that I use on the margin itself. How do I explain this? So when the page is margined, there's the bigger side where I write stuff, and then on the smaller side, typically I would have the sticker tag. I use circle stickers, and each color is a different topic. I usually have them on the smaller side of the margin, and then if I were doing any commonplace stuff, I would write my thoughts on the margin. And with my diary, with it being a bound book, I drew out, I pre-drew the margins because I didn't know when I would do commonplacing. And so having the margins for every single page made the most sense. If I wanted to start a commonplace, and it happens so that I start on the middle of the page, I would have the margin. Does that make sense? So since I'm using a ring binder, I decided I'm gonna split my commonplace style pages as well as my everyday pages. So now my everyday pages don't have a margin. The only downside to this is that if I'm writing and the topic quote unquote switches, I would have to tag before I jump topics. Whereas with the margins, if I were to be jumping topics, I can just tag it on the margin, so I don't have to stop to jump topics. And the tagging system as a whole is really just because I have several topics that I talk about. Most of the time it's just brain drain, but there are specific topics that I talk about. I don't really want to share what the topics are in general, but like one example I can give is like, let's say a dream. I want to write about a dream. I have a tag for the dream. So if I'm like flipping through my pages and I see that dream tag, I know whatever under it is a dream. And then I have some tags for special interest. And this tagging system is important to me simply because previously I would just have like paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs of writing, and at a glance it's hard to tell what I'm writing about. And with the tagging system, I can know what I'm writing about. So aside from that, like my everyday pages, there is no structure. Okay, the only like structure that I follow with the everyday pages is that if I'm starting a new day halfway into the page or something, I draw a line under the previous day, like all the writings from the previous day. I draw a line and then I write the date of the next day, and then right after it, following that, I don't like start a new page for each day. But aside from that, I don't really have like any structure. And as for the commonplace style pages, it's for commonplacing as well as tarot. So I have the margin smaller side to write my thoughts on whatever I'm commonplacing on, or my thoughts on a tarot reading. And I separate these from my everyday pages. Separate in that I wouldn't commonplace on a page with like my everyday writing stuff. And if I were commonplacing on one topic, like if it's just on one side of the page, I wouldn't start a new topic on the next side, or like on the back of the page. And with these commonplace pages, like the nice thing about ring binders is that I don't have to archive them until I want to. So like one example, I guess, my birthday tarot reading, it can stay in my everyday binder until my next birthday. And then when I archive it, I can choose to either put it with my June 2024 pages, or if in the future I decide to put my tarot readings together, I can. I do occasionally make weekly pages, but this is on like a need basis. On weeks where I have a lot of things that I want to do and I want to plan for the week, I make weekly pages. Otherwise, I don't. I've also realized one thing about me is that I don't need to-do lists every single day. If I do make a to-do list, I just write it with my thoughts and stuff. Like I just make a little section for my to-do list. I don't need a weekly page anymore unless I absolutely want to plan a week, which mostly only ever happens during school weeks where I have assignments, submissions, or like right now, I am like batch editing a lot of my videos. So when I plan for that, I have my weekly pages. And with the A6 papers that I bought, like I still do use them. Like they've not gone to waste. I still do use the A6 papers. Right now, it's more of like a little half page kind of a thing. Like one of the things I have on an A6 paper, it's like my school schedule for this term. More of like long-term things that I wouldn't want to use a full A5 page. And with the A6 page, they also do get smaller because the parts that have been hole punched, like that doesn't line up with the A5, so I do cut that out and then re-punch the paper to match the A5 ring. Anyways, with more pros of the new system, like I mentioned, I bought an Instax printer and now I add more pictures and Polaroids. Me personally, I don't like writing on top of like bulky pages or like over Polaroids per se. So if this had been a bound book, I most likely wouldn't be putting the Polaroids in because I wouldn't like writing over it. Whereas with a ring binder, since I take pages out, like I don't have to care about like the pages under per se. I also do use paper clips for Polaroids, like to attach Polaroids so I can write on the flip side. Like I can take out the Polaroids and then write and then put back the Polaroids. Overall, I really like ring binder system because I can move pages around. Like I said earlier, my daily pages are on my table while my binder is in my drawer. I kind of just have like loosely papers on my table, and then at the end of the day I put it in my binder. For whenever I do have a weekly page that lives on my table, and when the week is over, I can put the page before my daily pages for the week. It's like I don't have to do anything in chronological order. And again, with archiving, I can choose what I keep in my everyday binder and what I archive. Right now, I have one ring binder that I use for archiving. The rings on that is 25 mm, like the diameter, I believe. Whereas my everyday binder is 20 mm. It's not like a huge difference, but the difference does, like that 5 mm does make a difference. I haven't really figured out exactly how I want to archive everything in the long term, because right now I've only archived my May pages. I'm recording this voiceover in July, and I still have my June pages in my everyday binder. So that's a problem for future me. But even with my May pages, when I archived, there are still a couple of pages from May still in my everyday binder because I didn't want to let go of them yet. And I really, really like that about using a ring binder. Because whenever I'm done with my little commonplace / diary book, like the bound books, once I'm done, I start a new book and all of my commonplace pages are just in the book that I no longer use, and I have to let go of it. And now I don't have to. I'm really glad I discovered this option, through watching Megan's videos and how she uses her ring binders. And watching her figure out a system that works for her has also helped me in figuring out my system. I'm really grateful. I suppose I should also mention, one of the reasons why I wanted to keep up with the bullet journaling system was because I've been bullet journaling since 2018, ever since I watched Amanda's bullet journaling videos. And in secondary school, it worked a lot. It was very useful in secondary school. But now that I no longer have that secondary school structure, and I have a bit more freedom in my time, it just doesn't work for me anymore. And I have evolved into becoming a person who doesn't really plan as much. But at the same time, this system does also give me the space to be able to plan and have structure for when I need it, and just accommodate to my needs as and when they change. And for days where I want to have more decorative pages like the one that you guys are watching, I can just have this, just make one. When I archive my June pages, if I want to keep this page with me, I can have it in my everyday binder as well. In the future, if I want to put all of my decorative pages together, I could. I could also put them in chronological order. I can just rearrange as and when I want them. I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot about what I like about this system, but that's really something that's important. And I'm glad I discovered a system that works really well for me. Anyways, last bit about my system is my daily logging. Coming into 2024, I really wanted to keep up with a daily logging system, which I did try a little at the start of 2023. I kept up with it for a couple of months and then stopped because the book that I was using was simply only for daily logging. And when I moved into my Muji planner, I used the site, the weekly site, for daily logging. I guess I should mention why I do this. I mentioned this in a few of my videos, but if this is your first video, hi, I have bad memory. And I rely a lot on stuff I write, which is also why I do YouTube. As much as I dislike editing videos and constantly having to hear myself say the same things over and over again, making my videos help me remember things better. Because I rewatch my thoughts, rewatch what I say, rewatch what I've done over and over. But like for days where I'm not filming, I don't really have that. And so this daily log is essentially just me writing a summary of the day. And because I stopped using my Muji planner for my to-do list and habit tracking, I fell off on daily logging because, once again, the book became a book that's only for daily logging. So I didn't really gravitate towards picking it up as often. And I do feel like to me, this daily logging thing is very important, from my memory, but also because I am the kind of person to like reread my diaries and stuff. Like if I were to, for example, want to know what happened on a specific day, right now, I would have to go dig for my diaries and read everything that's on it to know what happened on a day. But with a daily log, if I want to look at what happened, I can just look at the daily log and find a summary. Or if I'm looking for like a specific thing that happened, but I don't know when it happened, I'll have to read through like so many pages to find it. But with daily log, I can just scroll through all the summaries of my days to find when something happened. So I do want to keep up with it. And now I've decided to put it on Notion. So I made a page for like 2024, and then within that 2024 page, I made separate pages for each month. And then within each month, I made a toggle list per day. So I have the date. And then when you open the toggle, will be the summary inside it. So now I'm slowly, as and when I have time, backlogging all the months that I missed, like the couple months that I missed on backlogging, and moving in whatever I've written in my Muji planner into the daily log. And right now, it's still okay for me to like skip a few days because it's still easy for me to go back and fill up the daily log. This is essentially something I'm doing for my future self. Like, let's say mid-2025, I want to know what happened in January 2024. I can go back and look. Like now that I'm in July 2024, it's still easy for me to like read through my diary entries and fill out the daily log, It's really just like a system for my future self, like making my future life easier. One other thing that I had in the Muji planner was this little thing that's like 2024 entitled. This is very much inspired by a TikTok video that I watched where it's like, treat your life like it's a TV show. Give each day an episode title. And I've tried starting this several times. The first time I tried it was in 2022. I fell off. I tried this for a bit in 2023. I fell off. And in 2024, I'm determined to keep up with this. So now, with my daily log, like in the toggle list, I have the date and then I write the title next to it. I kept up with writing the title for like a good few months. And it's okay that I fell off on it because as I'm daily logging, reading through a diary entry to like summarize the day, I can still make a title based off my summary. But right now I am keeping up with it like every day or like every other day, trying my best to like summarize the day. On this page itself, at the back, I paper clipped a letter from my friend. My friend gave me a birthday letter and I didn't read it. I'll be so honest, I forgot about it. If you've watched my last teen vlog, I was like, I'm gonna read it on my birthday, and now my birthday itself I forgot. And then after I did this journal page, I remembered. So I read the letter and then I paper clipped it on the back of this page. So that part was not filmed, but it's there. Yeah, so do let me know what your thoughts on this video is. Like, what are your thoughts? Do y'all like chatty videos? Would you guys prefer if this was shorter? Like I said, journal with me's are not going to be like a common occurrence per se, because I don't do this type of journaling that often. But you know, for if and when I do this again, like, would y'all want me to chat? And if you guys would want me to chat, like, comment topics or questions. Even if you guys would prefer like sped up non-chatty journal with me videos, and you guys have any questions still, do comment them. So if I do ever make a Q&A video, like, I've considered it, except I would need questions to answer if I were gonna make one. So if you have any questions, do comment. If you have any video suggestions, stuff you guys would want for me to post as well, do comment. I will say that there is no 100% guarantee that I will do every video that gets recommended, talk about every topic that gets recommended, or answer every single question that gets asked. But if it's something that I'm comfortable with and I'm okay with, I will try my best to do them. But yeah, in general, I do really appreciate any comment. Like, if you've ever commented on my video, even just like a heart emoji, like, I really do cherish it. And yeah, that is it for this video. If you guys like this video, do give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. As of when I'm recording this, based off my YouTube analytics, only 20%, not even 20%, less than 20% of my viewers are actually subscribed. And if you actually had your audio on for this video and you listened to me talk, do consider subscribing. This channel itself is not a journaling channel. Like, that's not my primary content. Or I do have a good amount of journaling videos that will be linked in the description box. This channel doesn't have a niche. The niche is me. I just make whatever I'm interested in, or like share my life, I guess. If you're interested, do check out my other videos. You can check out the videos that are linked in the description box, or you can check out my channel as a whole. With that, we've come to the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to catch y'all in my next one. Bye!